the Aberfeldy that was in this line, which I got to taste, was absolutely phenomenal and totally different. And we can talk about that for a sec, just because it's Craigellachie, you're more likely to find independent bottlings that are giving you something like what you get with the exceptional cask with the higher ABV in the single cask.
Right.
But
Mhm.
Aberfeldy, you don't ever see those.
That
Yeah.
was, I'll explain a little bit about Aberfeldy and why it's not regularly found in independent bottlings, but I'd love to hear your tasting notes, because I've been saying my tasting notes for that Aberfeldy 24, and the Aberfeldy 24, which was one of the three single casks, that was a New York State exclusive, which is always fun too. So, we like to be spoiled a little bit in New York State. But my tasting notes are so different than everyone else's. So I'll let you say yours first. But the reason for Aberfeldy is that Aberfeldy is a very, very important malt to us and to a lot of other people. I mean, all of these malt distilleries, all the single malt brands that we have, they all existed originally, and still, 95% of them to this day, to be components of blended Scotch. So your Dewars, Chivas, Johnny Walker. I mean, we're all intertwined. We all need each other to survive. It's not one is better than the other. It's the whole industry is intertwined. If one fails, the other fails. So keep drinking your blended Scotch too. There's lots of cool blended Scotch out there. We all need each other. And our single malt distilleries are a little bit more obscure and not as well known. And still a portion of all of them get sold off for blending. And all of our whiskeys, and Aberfeldy, a large portion of it goes into the Dewars blend, which is owned by us as well. Now, Aberfeldy was founded by the Dewars family in 1898. So it's the home of Dewars. Aberfeldy has always been a single malt in Dewars. It hasn't always been the heart of it. But because of that, and because of the Dewars connection, we've always it's had a few different owners, but since 1998, when we acquired it as Bacardi, we've always held on very tight to it, right? So we don't sell a lot of it because we know that we need it for lots of different reasons. We don't sell a lot of it, which means it doesn't always make its way out to brokers, right? It's few and far between of where you can find it, sneaking out into the independent bottling world.
And when you say you don't sell a lot of it, you're saying you don't sell a lot of it to other people.
Right.
You're selling plenty of Aberfeld.
Oh yes, for us, right?
Yeah.
It's all, we keep it for us. So whether it's going into the Aberfeldy single malt or into Dewars, and hey, when I say sell, it means to other companies, because us companies that have owned big blends, we all trade whiskey. There's anywhere from 20 to 40 different single malts at any given time in a Johnny Walker or Chivas or Dewars. So we're all trading whiskey, some aged, some, right off the still. So because of that trading, you see a lot start to trickle into the market. And that's how we get that independent bottling world.
I'm trying to remember, because I got to taste it just once at an event that you invited me to, that was paired with honey. That was super, super interesting too. That could be a whole other discussion for a store that we don't have. But I just remember, I mean, one, it being so different because we tried through the rest of the core range. And one, just getting Aberfeldy at higher strength creates a whole different animal. You kind of get, I really like the 12 of the regular lineup. I think that's a really, really compelling whiskey. But this sort of pushes everything past just the honey sweetness. And I was getting more, I'm trying to remember, like a little more earthy, if I remember right, almost like tree barky kind of stuff starting to come out. Like not quite like bourbon baking spices, but starting to head into that area a little bit. But now I'm really curious what yours are, because you've had it more than I have, and probably more recently. But yeah.
No, I'm actually glad you said that. And I don't think people realize how rare it is to have cask strength Aberfeldy. You have to go to the distillery and hope they decided to do a hand fill that month, a hand fill cask. I mean, it's not out there. I've seen it in Chieftains had some, 46% ABV, hogsheads. I mean, it does come out, but it's very, very few and far between. So this, I was so excited because I haven't tried a lot of cask strength Aberfeldy. It just doesn't exist. basically the new make spirit is how you get cast strength Aberfeldy a lot. So it was really a treat. And the 24 was the first fill sherry butt, I think around 340 bottles, so a
I didn't
little bit
realize.
over.
I did not realize that was first fill too.
So it was American oak first fill.
Okay.
So it was not European oak. So that's why you didn't get the heavy weight of that much time in it. So, your American oak, your Quercus alba is still going to give you some of those, more honeyed vanilla style notes. But obviously then it had the Oloroso sherry in it. So it's not overbearing, but I don't know if it was just mental. People were very familiar with Aberfeldy. They tried the core range. There's a consistent honeyed note, as you said, in the core range. And so everyone was still talking about tons of honey on the 24, which there's definitely a sweetness, and on the nose, I still got a little bit, but I got earth, right? Like dirt, spicy dirt, and dirt is a very good quality. People don't think that it's a bad thing. Dirt is good. This very kind of damp wood, spicy, still some of these like old raisins trying to creep through. But yeah, there was still a sweetness kind of bouncing around, which sure could be that kind of honey, American oak, Aberfeldy style. But it was really, really cool to see Aberfeldy be the more kind of moody of the whiskeys compared to the Craigellachie 19.